Welcome to District Deep Dive, where we take a look at the history, culture, and political climate of each of Panem's 13 districts. Today, we'll be examining District 10, Panem's Livestock Production Center. Prior to the release of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, District 10 seemed to fall into a similar boat of District 9's, with the two having next to no concrete information in regards to their district aside from their export. District 10 only having one named character throughout the entire original trilogy. However, the little information that we do have in regards to it is fascinating. So, without further ado, let's take a closer look. District 10 is unique amongst other districts in that a significant portion of it is comprised of land beyond that of the original United States. Aside from boasting fragments of what previously was West Texas, District 10 is also comprised of large segments of 8 other Mexican states. The dryness and flatness of the land provides an ideal climate in which to raise cattle, and, similar to the way that District 12 is responsible for the production of Appalachia's centuries-old export coal, District 10 calls to mind the vaqueros, cowboys, and cattle drives of days long gone, with this history even being referenced by game stylists, who adorned District 10 tributes in cowboy costumes during the Victory Parade. To me, the most interesting implication of the majority of District 10 being Mexican land is the fact that although so much of the old world's knowledge has been erased, we can see remnants of regional cultures flourishing in their respective districts. District 12's depiction often being praised for the accuracy with which it depicts the Appalachian people, suggesting that District 10's present-day culture also contains a strong Mexican influence. Given the fact that certain cultural lifestyles, customs, and outlooks remain well preserved within their respective territories in the face of literal apocalypse, it's not difficult to imagine how the history of 10's land shapes the people within it. The books even go so far as to establish that District 10 shares much in common with District 4, which is composed largely of California and was at one point Mexican territory, to the point the two share virtually identical wedding ceremonies, indicating cultural ties strong to the point they unite two districts that cannot interact with each other on any level. Yet despite being tasked with the production of such an essential capital export, District 10 is remarkably small, boasting a population of 19,000 as the third smallest and poorest district in Panem. In a similar fashion to its agricultural cousins Districts 9 and 11, District 10 is racked with poverty, with its meager population taking out a whopping 291,963 tesserae annually, therefore suggesting the entirety of 10's population cannot find consistent food sources. Although such a fact may seem ridiculous at first, upon taking into account 10's location, a clearer image comes into view, the flat, arid land providing fairly poor conditions for rearing crops in. The little that is grown is more likely than not used as feed for cattle and livestock, leaving minimal land and supplies to be devoted to human beings. Additionally, depending on District 10's available technologies, there's also the possibility they lead more nomadic lifestyles, with the district most likely being divided between those who ranch livestock and those who slaughter and process it, indicating the ranch hands must often move to drive their cattle the required distance, providing them limited time and opportunities to secure a solid meal for themselves. 10's children don't even have the opportunity to scavenge for their families in the way that Katniss did, with them working as herders and butchers from the moment they can properly wield a knife. Given the fact the majority of 10's tributes have such early access to weaponry and have ample experience using them for slaughter, initially, you'd imagine they would thrive within the games, knowing how to slice tracheas and exactly what arteries to sever to bleed a body out. But you'd be wrong. In the original trilogy, District 10's tributes aren't even memorable enough to be named, with 3 of the 4 dying within the first 48 hours. As to how this could be, to me, the most likely answer lies in the fact that once again, there's a cruel irony carried over from Districts 9 and 11 in the tributes of a district tasked with food production often being on the verge of starving to death themselves, with the malnutrition and work-sustained injuries tributes of 10 are likely to bear outweighing any potential advantage their work skill set would have otherwise bestowed upon them. Yet in spite of these odds, the citizenry of 10 and the tributes that managed to survive the first 48 hours display a truly remarkable tenacity. In the 74th Hunger Games, District 10's male tribute is described by Katniss as having a crippled foot, although whether his limp is an injury or genetic is never specified. He is described by Katniss as being extremely quiet throughout his Flickerman interview, likely scared witless on account of his poor odds, and yet in spite of these odds, the District 10 male places 10 out of 24, surviving for over a week in the arena and indicating a deep resourcefulness and cleverness and sheer will to live nobody takes note of. And even as early as the 10th Hunger Games, Tribute Tanner displays a deep, haunting resolve, being among the first tributes to claim weapons and at one point even outright being favored to win, largely due to his extensive knowledge of slaughterhouse techniques and his willingness to apply them. However, District 10 citizenry's willingness to survive notably does not come at the expense of their willingness to rebel, regardless of the consequences that such actions may prompt. 2 of the 3 named District 10 characters, Dalton and Brandy, are framed as being willing to risk their lives to resist tyranny. Brandy outright murdering her mentor after being teased repeatedly with the promise of food, utilizing her final moments to furiously eat something that had been constantly denied her. Dalton, a refugee, travels thousands of miles by foot just to pursue the promise of 13, having no way of knowing whether or not the rumors that surround it are true. And yet to him and the other members of 10, the promise alone is worth staking everything on. Thank you all for taking this tour of Panem with us, and if you enjoyed, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And here's an extra special thank you to our Patreons. What we do would not be possible without your support. If you would like to consider joining them, the link is in the description. Thank you all so much for your time, and have a wonderful day. May the odds be ever in your favor.